How's it going, everybody? We're going to talk about a hot button issue in Gen 5 OU today. I know I'm usually a Gen 3 channel. Gen 5 OU is not my main format, but I do enjoy the format. It was current gen when I first started playing competitive mons, and I have a soft spot for the format. It's probably my second favorite format to play, despite its bad reputation and all its flaws. I think it's an enjoyable pool of Pokemon. It's got a fun identity. It's got some cool mechanics, and, you know, I think it could be a better metagame. I think it could be a better metagame with some shifts, and I'm glad that people are talking about a big issue, which is gems on hyper offense threats, which make team building and matchup fishing big problems. Hyper offense has such a good matchup against sand that it's almost unwinnable and very one-dimensional to play. There's not much nuance about it. Volcarona quiver dances once and it's over sometimes. It's just that simple. Cloister also destroys sand teams. Cloister can very easily set up a shell smash against the various ground types run on sand teams like Gliscor, Garchomp, or what is it, Landorus T. And then after a shell smash, you can just nuke their entire team. You can blast through Ferrothorn with an ice gem. Check out some of these calcs. Even if Sand is running Keldeo, which does happen. Keldeo is good on Rain and Sand. Check out this calc right here. Ice Gem, Icicle Spear against Keldeo. This is kind of the prime example of why this is a big problem, is because this is a Pokemon that resists both of Cloister's primary attacks. Even the rare water attack, if it had it, would be completely resisted by Keldeo. Keldeo should be a hard counter to Cloister, right? But look at Cloister with a move that Keldeo resists. After its Stealth Rock, it has a 93% chance to kill it. This is just, like, how do you even check this Pokemon at this point reliably? You just don't. You just have to guess what gem it has and hope that it has the Rock Gem, and then if it doesn't, you just lose. And check this out. Rotom Wash is another Pokemon that should be a great check to Cloister. Even Rotom Wash, 75% chance to kill after a Stealth Rock with Ice Spear. This is a bulky water type. It resists its main attack and is a defensive Pokemon. Not to mention the Rock Gem, which just straight up one-hits it, and one-hits other checks, such as Politoed, Tentacruel. Look at this damage. Tentacruel has to run like, even if it runs max defense, Bold Nature. Even if Tentacruel runs this, which would be a terrible set, look at the damage of Rock Blast. You know, it just, I think that sights are set right now on Volcarona, which is also an absurdly strong threat. You know, Volcarona after a Quiver Dance can decimate sand teams, especially when they run Psychic types. Absolutely demolish them. Especially because the main check for Volcarona on those teams would be Tyranitar, but Bug Gem allows Volcarona to defy logic in the same way that Cloister does and just smack through something that's supposed to beat it. It's a very difficult Pokemon to check, and I think that it's good that we're talking about gems, because gems are problematic. But there's some arguments against this, against banning gems, and these arguments are focused more on the problem Pokemon of Volcarona and Cloister, which are like the main gem abusers. Arguing that they are the problem. They can get too much, like their boost moves are too powerful, Quiver Dance and Shell Smash, and then they can abuse gems using those boosts. It's not that hard for them to set up, and then with gems, they're almost uncheckable as a result. There's also an argument that removing gems would make Sand Psychic Spikes teams, like this team right here, with Alakazam and Reuniclus and Sand and Spikes, way too powerful, and they're already like the metagame staple team. The only thing that really beats this super well is Hyper Offense teams with Volcarona. And if you get rid of Volcarona's Bug Gem, those teams would run rampant. My argument against that is I don't think that a like 100-0 matchup of, you know, the Volcarona Hyper Offense team, which is just like an insanely good matchup against Side Spikes, is a healthy way to keep a team style that is problematic in check. Like, that's really bad. The fact that that's even an argument. It's like, oh, it beats most things in the metagame, but loses almost all the time to Volcarona offense teams. And Cloister Shell Smash. I think, like, that's just a flimsy foundation of a metagame when you need, like, 100-0 matchups to keep a thing in check. I also would disagree. I think that Volcarona would still be powerful against Side Spikes if gems were banned. It still destroys, like, you need to chip Tyranitar a bit more, and it's not instantly beating Tyranitar, but there's ways to, like, in the same way that the Side Spikes teams are built around pressuring Tyranitar with these Psychic users with Focus Blast, and Tyranitar's not able to deal with all of these threats that it's supposed to check. Volcarona can do the exact same thing. Volcarona can pressure in Tyranitar, and then a different threat that likes Tyranitar dead will now have Tyranitar dead. I think that Volcarona teams could still be fine. It's just they wouldn't be 100-0. I also would say that, you know, if we instead banned Volcarona and Cloister instead of gems, there's still gem abusers that are really powerful. Swords Dance Breloom is like the third one here that mentioned by Peng. And Dragon Gem Latios. Breloom is also pretty annoying. It's got Technician. Swords Dance Technician with Grass Gem is such an insane nuke that is really difficult to deal with. And then if they have a Fighting Gem with Low Sweep or Mark Punch, it's a similar guessing game. It's not quite as game-ending as Volcarona and Cloister are, but I find it I think it's just fundamentally unhealthy, creates 50-50s, and doesn't add much. When you compare gems to Z moves in Gen 7, Z moves are a lot more balanced. There's a 1 Z move limit on teams, or 1 Z stone. And they can also be protected. You can protect against the Z move. It will still do a bit of damage through protect, but it'll be severely, like, it'll really curb the threat of the Z move, and then they can't do it again. They have no more big nukes on their team. Gems, you can run as many as you want on a team, and they aren't consumed when the enemy protects. Like, there's no way to reliably consume a gem or, like, bait out a gem without also getting nuked on something. Like, you saw how much that Ice Gem calc did to Keldeo. Even if you resist the gem attack, it's so powerful that it's going to kill whatever comes in, and that's still a disadvantage. You may have, like, oh, you don't lose, but you're still so behind, you know? Even if, say, Volcarona Quiver Dance is up, Tar comes in, and then the Tar player switches to Landorus T, consumes the Bug Gem. That Bug Gem is still doing, like, 70 to Landorus, killing it, and you still have to deal with this Quiver Danced up Volcarona. Tar could live a hit and kill it, but you've lost 2 Pokemon for 1. Still, like, it's not a great, there's no great way to play around gems. And I think that with gems banned, Volcarona and Cloister would be so much more manageable. Especially Cloister. Because Cloister doesn't really have great alternative items. Like, White Herb is not really that impactful. I don't know what it would use. Maybe Life Orb at that point. Not even, because then you would just lose to Chip. It would really nerf Cloister in particular, because Cloister has no reason not to run Ice or Rock Gem. Volcarona can at least afford to run, like, Life Orb, Leftovers, and it would still function pretty well, I think. Cloister would still be good too. It's an explosive Pokemon. Shell Smash has such a high impact for 1 turn, but its ability to just nuke through checks is absurd. Some other examples I saw were like Swords Dance Landorus T with Superpower is able to do like 80+% to Skarmory. I think that's kind of an issue. Like, that's probably an easier one to play around and get them to consume the gem, I guess. But it's I don't know, these powerful nukes make offense too good and defense not good enough. And I think that there's more problems in Gen 5 than just gems, but I say ban gems and see what happens. I don't think that offense would be as nerfed as people think it would. I think it would still be fine. And I do think we need to take some action. If they banned Volcarona and Cloister instead, I guess I would be okay with that too. I mean, this is subjective, where the problem exactly lies, but in my opinion, gems being banned would be positive. I don't think that they have enough of a drawback, and I also think that they're not as interesting as some people in the team building aspect as some people think they are. They're quite one-dimensional. You just chuck a gem on a threat that's not sticking around for long, or just only needs one turn to really end a game, and then that's it, like Breloom, for example. Why wouldn't it use a gem? It's like the best offensive item by far. It's, you know, compare it to Life Orb. Life Orb has a significant drawback of using it for the recoil damage, which allows defensive Pokemon to like switch around, play around you. That's what an offensive item should be like. Like Life Orb is pretty balanced, but gems, not enough ways to play around them. I agree that they're a problem. And they make team building claustrophobic sometimes because, yeah, you can't really check things properly. Anyway, I will admit that Gen 5 is not my primary gen. I have played it quite a bit. I've built a lot of teams. I've entered tournaments. But I'm not like a super high level player or anything. I have an understanding of the meta. But what I will say is that the problems in this meta have made it hard for me to justify like sinking my teeth into it more and investing more time into it, even though I like it and I'm interested in it. It's hard to justify spending time on a meta that is so matchup fishy and frustrating to play in a competitive setting. I do enjoy individual games of Gen 5, and that's why I play on ladder sometimes, but like when you play, I don't know, Sand into hyper offense, it really feels like you can't do anything sometimes. It really feels like you have no interaction with the opponent because their offensive tools are just too strong. Fundamental ideas of like checking Pokemon and building teams with all the threats in mind in the meta are not true in Gen 5. Like the power level is so high that you can't really do that in the same way as like you can in Gen 3. In Gen 3, nothing is so strong that it's like game breaking in the same way as Gen 5, like Volcarona, Bug Gem. Anyway, thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more Pokemon videos. Thank you very much.